we already put out our spring game review yesterday
We
at
did.
the shoe. So we don't want to dive into all of those initial reactions. However, I do think tonight it would be a lot of fun if we spent a little time kind of doing what we would normally do in a game, and that is kind of hand out some Buckeye leaves at first and talk about some of the people who stood out and give out maybe some letter grades for the offense and defense. What do you think?
Well, let's do it.
And of course, guys, all of you who are watching live, go ahead and post in your comments what you think about the same things we're talking, and we'll share those as we go along here in the show tonight. So let's start here. Chris, who was your offensive MVP? Who deserves to get a Buckeye leaf for their performance in the spring game yesterday on offense?
Well, I'll tell you, you could have went a couple ways, Eric. For me, I mean, obviously we've talked about Marvin Harrison looked great, looked uncoverable. But you know what? For me, I think the guy that really stood out yesterday was Chip Trayanum. He had 8 carries, 110 yards. He had that big 65-yard touchdown run. I thought he looked really good. He ran with a lot of power, a lot of anger, and I'm excited about seeing that. Um, that other running back, like we said the other day, that other running back didn't look too bad for being 71 years old either.
That's
Could
right.
have easily gone. You could have easily gone with Archie and his big touchdown run for the player of the game, right? But I got to go with Chip.
Yeah, we'll give a complimentary Buckeye leaf to Archie Griffin. How about that?
All right.
Uh, Absolutely. I love. Of course, I'm like you. I went back and I watched the spring game. I had it recorded and taped. I went back and watched it myself, and I loved the interview afterwards, where he's being recorded or being interviewed by the Big Ten Network, and she's like, "You went untouched," and he was like, "Yeah, I didn't want to get touched. Like, I'm 71. Don't tackle this man, right?" So I thought that was a charming moment. But I'm with you. I'm going to stick at the running back position, and I think Chip Trayanum had a very good game. I'm feeling very bullish about our running back room. It is deep. I
It
don't
is very deep.
I don't know that Chip is going to see the football field too much if the health of the other three guys is what we think it is. I'll tell you what. I don't know if you saw the picture when the players were all singing Carmen, Ohio at the end, and one of the photographers snapped a
Mhm.
picture. But Travion Henderson looks like a superhero. That guy
Yeah, he
has
spent some time in the weight room.
he looks like Eddie and Zeke kind of did at the end of
Yeah,
their college careers, where he's just cut. If he's healthy, awesome. Mayan Williams didn't get the run very much. When that man runs, he runs angry. Um, I mean, I'm really interested to see how Evan Pryor looks coming off an injury last year, because he was really flashing last year before he got hurt, and it sounds like he's working his way
Da-
back.
Dallin didn't look bad.
Dallin Hayden is tough to bring down.
Yes,
He's always falling forward. Dallin Hayden's not the fastest guy. He's not the strongest guy. He doesn't have the best moves, but he's good at kind of everything. He's not the master of one. He's kind of the jack of all
and you
trades, I
know
feel
what's
like.
something great that we saw out of all the running backs that played yesterday is we're catching the ball with running backs.
Dallin had 5 catches.
Yes, yes. Our running back room is going to play a factor in the passing game. You better believe that as well.
Yeah. Look who showed up.
Oh, was there any doubt?
Where were you yesterday, Mr. Wickerham? Oh man, we missed you. We missed you, Ryan. And of course, he comes right back. Sorry, couldn't make it to the spring game in your tailgate. No problem, Ryan. We missed you, but looking forward to seeing you here very soon. Um, so yeah, and Lenny Zabo just said he likes the positive Buckeye leaves right off the bat. Yeah, Lenny, I think it's important to take away some positives, and after going back and kind of watching the video again, there were some positives, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. Um, so there's one big positive on the offensive side. Let's go to the defensive side. And Larry Daniels, I see your point. We're going to get there. The defensive MVP of the game. Who gets your Buckeye leaf?
Oh man, It's kind of tough because we didn't get to see the starters really come out there and put in a whole lot of time, especially along the offensive line, our defensive line rather. So thought we saw some great rotation there. Um, I mean, Gabe Powers looked good, led the team in tackles. C.J. Hicks, I thought, looked really great from the linebacker position as well. Um, if you're just going by the numbers, it would be hard to look away from Hero Canoe. I
Yeah.
mean, Hero Canoe goes out there, all he does is 5 tackles, a sack, and 2 tackles for a loss. And honestly, Eric, I kind of feel like being the numbers guy I am, that's the way I'm going to go. I'm going to give it to Hero since it's so hard to judge based on the fact of the limited playing time for the starters.
I'm kind of with you there. Here's another guy who really impressed me. He had good stats, Chris, but he also outside of the stat line, I think flashed. That's C.J. Hicks.
Yes.
Six tackles total. 5 of them were solo. Tackle for loss. Got his hand on 2 or 3 passes from the linebacker position. This guy's going to find his way on the field.
Well, let me tell you, we saw a lot of guys getting hands on passes,
We did.
and I think that is a very positive sign. I would have liked to have seen some of them caught, but it's a very positive sign that we're getting hands on the ball.
Well, that very first drive, the third play of the game, that pass as Kyle rolls out to his right on the home side, and he's trying to go over top of tight end and linebacker and try to find that sideline. And CJ sees it, reads it, rolls off of his guy, and the athleticism to twist his body and get his hand on that ball. That's incredible. And then later on, he had a great read where he just read it like a book and almost pulled another INT. He's really close. Um,
Sonny looked good.
yeah, Sonny looked good. Lenny Zabo says Denzel looked good. Denzel looked like the Denzel from
From
2 years
freshman year.
ago.
Yeah.
He's playing with tremendous confidence, Lenny. Um, he has his swagger back. The whole defense had a swagger about him.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
definitely.
that was really good to see. And I came away feeling like if you're a fan of trestle ball,
This may be the year for it.
we might we might be resurrecting that because did you not notice that the best offensive weapon we had yesterday, not named Marvin Harrison Jr., who was taken out after 2 series, was the punting game.
Oh, yeah.
M-
What did he have? 5 for 219, I think.
Dude drilled
Miracle,
one
yeah.
for 70 in the air.
Oh, yeah, and then that was impressive.
So yeah, the punting game looks really good, and I know that's really funny to say coming out of spring game. It's like, what's the positives? Oh, the punting game. But I'm telling you, somewhere Tressel was watching that and had to be smiling because he was like, "This is beautiful. The offense isn't scoring, the defenses are dominating this game, and the punting is the best I've seen in a long time." So Ryan Wickerham says, I think we win games with a better defense, and as long as the QB, whoever it is, doesn't turn the ball over, we should be good. They didn't turn it over yesterday, but boy, they came close.
Yeah. But there's reasons I think for that too, and we'll dive into those like you said a little bit later. So
Yep. Larry Daniels is right on the same wavelength with you, Ryan. He says the D line was swarming the QB, no time to throw. They didn't. And again, there's some stuff here in the next segment we're gonna jump into, guys. You guys are hitting everything I want to talk about. Because they weren't all positives. There is a negative. There's a glaring weakness on this football team. Uh, Larry says field goal game question mark. It's a work in progress. Missed the first one wide right, drilled the second one, hit every extra point after that. It I think it's gonna be okay. I don't think it's something to worry about. I don't know about how you feel, Chris, but I thought the kicking game was okay.
yeah, I think they they got the job done for the most part. I mean, obviously, at the moment we don't have Mike Nugent out there, but you know what?
Right.
We're going to be okay there.
Let's give some offensive and defensive letter grades for yesterday's spring game, Chris. Let's start with the offense first. Actually, let's flip that. Let's go. Let's go. Let's keep it positive. Let's go to the defense. Defense had 5 sacks yesterday. They had 8 TFLs. They did not create a turnover, but boy, they were close. They did stop them on fourth down a couple times, so I guess you can kind of call that a turnover. Although in a scrimmage setting, I don't really know that that's necessarily what you're going for, because normally that's not going to be what you see. But outside of that, the defense looked really, really good, man. I gave him an A.
I did as well. You look at this game, Eric. I mean, it was 40-31 on the scoreboard, and the unconventional scoring. I think a lot of people don't realize the defense had to do it 1, 2, 3 points at a time. They didn't have any defensive touchdowns. It was 1, 2, 3 points at a time based on
Right.
what they were doing.
Stops. They had to get stops to get
Furthermore,
points.
yes.
Yeah.
Furthermore, 6 of those offensive points were a product of, let's call it a gimmick from the university, letting Archie get out there and run for a touchdown.
Yeah. They gave up 7 points to a 71-year-old
Yeah,
for mercy. It was like a mercy rule almost.
I mean, this defense looked very, very good. I went with an A as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about the defense for a few minutes before we turn it over to the offense and kind of get putrid. The defensive backs look good.
Yes.
We didn't have Tommy Eichenberg, we didn't have Steel Chambers at linebacker, but the linebackers solid. Tackling looked phenomenal.
Yes.
Textbook tackling all day long from the second string linebackers, third string linebackers, and from the defensive backs. The defensive line played angry. They game tackle big time.
Yeah.
If they meet you the ball carrier at the line of scrimmage, you guarantee the other defensive linemen are going to be on you in a hurry. And then the linebackers are there to clean it up. This defense, although they did nothing dramatic, they were in their base 4-2-5 the entire time. They played really fast and well. This defense looks
Yes.
completely different than last year.
Yeah. Like you said, the big word that comes to mind is fundamental. They focused on the fundamentals and they did them right. Defensive backs were looking back for the ball. We were getting our hands up. We weren't doing nothing but or just doing face guarding and praying. The linebackers, like you said, very, very solid play. Kudos to Jim Knowles and James Laurinaitis for getting in that room just playing the way they are, going, all the way down into the 3 deep. Because, I mean, you look
Mm-hmm.
with 2 linebackers, you got Gabe Powers and down at about that 3rd spot, and he led the team in tackles.
Yeah, he's an animal. He's a
He,
tackling
he is a
machine.
he is a beast. He is going to be, when Tommy moves on, I think he's the kind of guy that can fill that role. And that's a lot to ask of anybody, given what Tommy's done here in the last couple of years. And the defensive line, like you said, they just set up camp in the offensive backfield. I mean, the defensive line, the 2 ends specifically, no matter who the 2 ends were at any given time, the 2 ends were setting up camp in the defense or in the offensive backfield. It was incredible. I thought the defense was tremendous.
It didn't matter if it was Jack Sawyer and JTT.
Nope.
If it was Caden Curry and Jackson, Kenyatta Jackson, or Amari Abor and a walk-on
Yes.
in the 3rd string. It didn't matter. Those 5 guys, the 5 defensive ends on scholarship right now, dominated this game. And then
And the interior defensive line looked solid as well.
they couldn't. I mean, the only thing I can knock on them is we were able to run up the middle.
Yes.
But that's also the strength of our offensive line, which I'll
Yes.
get into in a minute. So that was interesting to watch. But yeah, there's the defensive line. The only question is, and this question is not going to be answered until probably the 4th game of the season when we go to South Bend, Indiana. Is our defensive line really that good, or is our offensive tackles really that bad? That's the question coming out of yesterday. So let's talk about the offense. My grade is not going to be pretty, Chris, but I'm going to asterisk this. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to asterisk this based on a couple things. Number one, the 2 series that Marvin Harrison Jr. got to play, 3 catches, 60 some yards. Okay. You
Yeah.
take you take your top weapon off the chessboard. Okay. You've got no Emeka Egbuka. You've got no Julian Fleming. So you don't have your top 3 receivers. Cade Stover played 1 series and they yanked him. So you don't have your top tight end.
Hmm.
You have a makeshift offensive line that right now, in all honesty, is struggling. Okay. Let's
Hmm.
just call it like we see it. They're struggling. And you expect Kyle McCord to do what? Like it. And then now the one thing I'm going to push back from what I'm seeing online is why people are saying basically like, well, you can't blame the offense because they didn't open up the entire playbook. They were running a manila offense.
No.
That's
Routine
not what
things routinely, Eric.
It's not what I saw. I saw a quarterback who had zero time to throw the
Yes.
football. I saw receivers who weren't open other than the 2 freshmen, 3 if you count the tight
And,
end, Thurman.
and Hartline came out and said as much.
He did, and I'll tell you what. You give me your defensive grade, and then I'm going to give you the offensive grade. Sorry, and then I'm going to give you that quote that I have from Brian Hartline. Go for it.
Well, I'll tell you, I did like the way we ran the ball, Eric. I did like how Harrison looked. I thought we had some bright spots with the tight ends, specifically Gee Scott and Jelani Thurman. So I didn't completely fail them, but I did go with a C minus.
Mm.
I felt that the running game was sufficient to earn them some kudos. But yeah, I felt the same thing. I saw the same thing you did. Total lack of separation. Really substandard play from our offensive tackles. Um, that's something we got to clean up um, really, really quickly here. Coming out of spring, we know what the focus is, and is the answer going to be lying in the portal? Somebody maybe like a Caleb Etienne from Oklahoma State who's in the transfer portal. Um, Maybe Jim Knowles got a relationship with this
We
young man.
we got a connection there.
If that's possible, I mean, because he was a starting offensive tackle for a pretty good offense at Oklahoma State. Um,
Yeah, you're getting in the weeds a little bit there
but
because
again, yeah, let me get back to let me get refocused though. Um, it's possible. I have every confidence in our coaching staff. So I shouldn't say every confidence. I have confidence that we can make a serviceable line out of what we have. Do I think that we have a national title contender line right now? Not even close.
we don't.
Our tackles are not good enough to win us the Big Ten championship, yet alone a national championship.
Here's what Brian Hartline had to say. Everyone's got to do a better job. The receivers need to be getting open faster. I think that at times maybe we can do a better job protecting for them, talking about the QBs, and also getting the ball out faster. That was his
Mm-hmm.
quote, straight up. Here's the other quote that I found incredibly interesting. This one was from Ryan Day. I think what you saw today in the game is similar to what we have seen in practice, and that's usually typical. Early on, sometimes there are jitters out there playing in front of 75,000. I think you saw the defense get their hands on some balls, and that was an emphasis coming off of last season. So he's being very positive there about the defense. But if this is what we saw all spring, then there's
There's
concern.
trouble.
There's
There's
concern.
trouble.
I,
Yeah.
I went with a D. I went with it straight up, Chris. I went with a D. Um, and the whole and again, I said I gave you the asterisks right there, right? You don't have these guys, but
Yes.
if you go back and look at how we ended the season, right? You didn't have Cade Stover.
Yeah.
You didn't have a Marvin Harrison after he got knocked out. You had a banged up Emeka Egbuka, right? CJ still willed the team. Now, it's not fair to compare Kyle McCord to CJ Stroud yet, but I'm
No.
telling you right now, um, there's there's some issues there. So I went straight up with a D, and here's what Brad Oberding said. He said the O line stunk, but it's really hard to gauge that with guys sitting with injuries. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree, Brad. But here's what you can gauge. You can gauge the fact that your offensive tackles can't block farts right now.
And what's scary,
They
Eric, is
they
we have
couldn't.
no depth.
We sat there yesterday, and we we were counting
Yeah.
1,000, 2. Oh, he's back there already. Like they are getting off the ball so fast and beating the tackles so fast right now that literally it was kind of funny to watch. The tackles were false
Yeah.
starting on purpose, and
Yeah.
they weren't calling it because they were getting beat so bad that
Well, and
it was
Sawyer was beating him every way. Like I said yesterday, he used a bull rush at times. He used a swim move. He used a spin move. Everything he wanted to do, he did with great efficiency to get in the backfield really fast.
Ryan Wickerham says C minus for the offense and A for the defense. Yeah, I think the defense is playing playing really well. Lenny Zabo said I missed why JTT didn't play. He did play. He played for at least what, a quarter and a half.
Do you have that long in?
I know this much. There was a play he could have absolutely destroyed
No, he
Kyle
would have
McCord's
broke Kyle
career.
McCord in half.
He
Yeah.
blindsided and he two-hand tapped him, and Kyle McCord was throwing as he two-hand tapped him, and that would have been either a fumble or the end of his career, one of the two, because
Yeah.
he could have absolutely destroyed that poor young man. Here we go. I don't know about this one, Chris. Hand surgery for Devin Brown. Did I hear that correctly?
It was finger.
Oh, yes. Finger. He'll be
He
out
had the finger 4
4 weeks.
weeks.
And he'd 5 if you count the week of surgery. So
Yeah.
5 weeks. And I figured, yeah. I was
Yeah,
like,
he'll be
hand
back in
surgery.
time for
Yep.
August ball. So
Wickerham's on a roll tonight. O line is not good right now. Just like Chris said, no way we can win Big Ten championship or Natty. No,